Today we're going to be looking at Knutsford Express, ticker KEX on the Jamaica Stock Exchange Junior Market. We're going to do a review of the company, looking at an overview of what they do. Take a look at their financials over the last 5 years, just some of the highlights, and their most recent quarterly report, which I believe was for Q3. Then we're going to look at their price history using the JMMB Moneyline platform. JMMB is sponsor for this video. Then we look at their dividend policy. They actually have not paid a dividend in quite some time. So we're going to look at their last dividend payment and maybe the reason why they haven't paid dividends in the last couple of years, as well as any news that we can find out about them and what's coming up. Look at the company outlook and some other things. So, let's just get right into it.
Learning is the key to successful investing. And who doesn't want to invest in some way?
Here at L.E.A.R.N Grow Invest, we focus on financial education, all with the aim of sharing our knowledge on personal finance, investing, and building wealth. We do this on the foundation of our faith in God.
If a more holistic approach is what you need, check out our Grow Faith-based financial coaching program.
Find out more about us at learngrowinvestclub.com
and follow us on all social media platforms at L.E.A.R.N Grow Invest.
So again, I want to highlight JMMB Moneyline as sponsors for this video. We thank them for their support. We'll be using the Moneyline platform to look at the price history for Knutsford Express a little bit later. So before I go further from here, I have to say that anything that I review here is for discussion, education, entertainment, and illustrative purposes only, and should not be construed as professional financial advice, solicitation, or recommendation to buy or sell Knutsford Express or any other securities. So we're going to go through 5 main areas here, and this is how we do our stock reviews. We've done quite a few, so if you're interested in looking at maybe some other companies, then just check our stock review playlist. We have an all about stocks playlist, stocks to watch playlist, and quite a bit of content surrounding stocks on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. So be sure to check those out. If you're interested, we also have other resources that can help you as an investor. Just go ahead and check the description of the video for those resources. So let's start with an overview of the company. So Knutsford Express began changing the way you travel June 1st, 2006. So this is when they were started, and their mission has always been to provide world-class service to their customers, whether you're taking one of their coaches for a trip across the island or you need to send a package locally or overseas, they've got you covered. So they're serving in 18 major towns in Jamaica, including connections to both major international airports in the country, Norman Manley International Airport and the Donald Sangster International Airport. Their offices are located across the island, and they're serving you whether or not you're an individual or an organization, right? So it says here, we're always striving to improve our services, and now we even offer international shipping to the US, Canada, and Europe, as well as online shipping services, travel points, air shuttle services, lockups services, and pickup services for select locations. So if you sign up for a Courier Plus account, and we look at the different services on the next page, you can access even more benefits and take advantage of their competitive and affordable rates, right? So at Knutsford Express, the value that drives them is safety, reliability, integrity, teamwork, total customer focus, continuous improvement, and mutual respect, right? So their team of professionals are highly motivated and always focused on delivering on those values to ensure a great experience for you, the client, right? And this is Oliver Townsend, CEO of Knutsford Express. All right, so these are some of the services that I found on their website. Now, I'll share a link to their website in the bio of this, in the description of this video. So I saw, these main services. So on the courier side, there's courier services, Courier Plus, they have express lockers, they have a pickup service, they have a parish-to-parish courier, they have multiple locations. I believe at this point it's 18. You have the ability to track your packages, ship overseas. We had mentioned those countries before. You can do online shopping. And then on the charter side, you can do charters or transfers. And they have this service that I believe is called Knutsford Connect. We're going to be looking at that shortly as well. A little bit on their vision and mission statement. So it says here they want to be the premier provider of quality transport solutions by offering a safe, reliable, enjoyable, and cost-effective experience with customer satisfaction as the primary focus. That's their vision, and their mission is to provide distinctive transport solutions delivered by well-trained and motivated professionals who deliver constantly world-class service that adds value to their customers' experience, thereby enhancing profitability, right? It's always good to look at a company's vision and mission to see how they're living up to that, right? They have this service called Knutsford Connect, which is the latest addition in terms of offerings. It provides luxury transfer services to business travelers, individuals, groups, and visitors to Jamaica. So they have a fleet of luxurious vehicles to make your experiences safe, comfortable, and memorable. These vehicles make it perfect for smaller groups to enjoy sightseeing, city tours, a night out of the town, or to arrive at a graduation, wedding, funeral, or any special event in VIP style. And I believe I might have seen a couple of these as I went out of town a couple of times and I saw a limo. Who knows, it might have been them, right? So whether you are on your way to a meeting, creating your own personal adventure, or attending a special event, Knutsford Connect will provide a seamless connection to and from your destination. And Knutsford Connect actually has its own domain. I believe it's knutsfordconnect.com. So if you want to find out more information, you can go to that page. And this is just a look at some of their locations. So if, depending on the parish you're in, you may be able to find one in your parish or go to one nearby. This is a look at their top 10 shareholders as at, I believe, March 31st. This was taken from their Q3 report, their most recent one. So we see, this is a top 10. It's a little under 93%, which means outside of the top 10, only 7% of the shares are there in circulation, and they have about 500,000 shares outstanding, right? So it's not a lot of shares considered out on the market outside of the top 10. All right, so that's an overview of the company. Very easy and straightforward to understand. So yeah, I didn't think there needed to be much more information on that, but if there's anything else that you'd like to know about the company, let me know. If you know anything else about what the company offers, be sure to mention it in the comments of the video so we can all understand more about the company. All right, so let's look a bit of their financials. So we look at 3 key statements: the income statement, the balance sheet, and the cash flow statement. And then we'll try to look at any key ratios that will help us get a good grasp as to how the company has been performing. And then, as I said, we look at the most recent report, which in this case is their Q3. All right, so for the income statement, we're starting with comparing either quarters or year to date, or maybe year over year, depending on the data that we have access to. Not all companies provide the same detail, or maybe we're not able to get the same amount of information. And you'll see what I mean, right? So we're looking at whether or not revenues are growing or shrinking. We want to know if the company is headed in the right direction in terms of revenues, profitability, etc. Are margins improving, right? So we look at the different levels of profit and assess those. Are costs increasing or decreasing? And what's their earnings per share? Is it positive or negative? Is it growing from the previous periods, right? So those are some of the things we look at. We won't necessarily look at all of them for all companies, but at a high level, these are some of the questions we're asking as we're going through it. So this is a breakdown of their revenues and net income from all the way back to 2016. So we've seen where 2019, the year before the pandemic, no surprise, they would have had their best year. They're in bit of a recovery for 2022, which is the most recent year. And I believe the last 12 months, which would be this Q3 and going into their previous Q4, look pretty good, right? So this is revenues and net income. We saw where they would have made a loss for 2021, but would have recovered for 2022. 2020, of course, no surprise there. We're seeing the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic on their company. Here we've included net income, revenues, and gross profit to see how that stacks up. So for gross profit in particular, you're seeing where 2019 and 2022 look very, very similar in terms of what gross profit was. So we don't typically want to go back more than 5 years, but as you see in there, they're looking, or at least if you in some cases we may do this, right? Because the last 2 years would have been somewhat of an unusual event. If you remove the last 2 years, for argument's sake, and you look at the trend that they're heading at, they would have been growing their business steadily from 2016 all the way to 2019. So if you assume that they're going to be continuing on that trend based on how well they've been growing the brand, the services that they're offering, how known the brand is, and how customers look forward to using it, etc., you may assume that they're going to have a good year for 2023. So let's see how it goes though, right? All right, so let's take a look at the balance sheet. Now we're looking same quarter over quarter or period over period here. We're looking to see their cash. We want to understand if they have enough cash to maybe cover their liabilities. We look at debt, long-term debt, short-term debt, etc. We look at if their retained earnings position is building, and then we look at any receivables and inventory as applicable depending on the type of company, right? So cash and cash equivalents for them, as you can see, well, if we use a similar thing that we had looked at previously, they have less cash for 2022 than they did in 2019, and they would have been building up back their cash over the last 2 years. So I mean, it's getting back to where it was pre-pandemic levels in terms of cash on hand to do whatever is needed to do for the company. Next, we have long-term debt and current portion of long-term debt. So their long-term debt currently, this is where it stands. So it's something that I'm gonna try to say. Actually, didn't do this before I started to record this video, but I'm gonna see the terms of the debt, right? See if I can find that information and then get some context as to when that debt is supposed to be cleared. But it's possibly would have been taken out over the last few years. So I'm gonna try to find that out before the end of this video. Cash flow statement, let's move on to that next. So we'll look at 3 key things from the cash flow statement. Operating, financing, and investing activities. We want to see how the cash flow looks for each of those key areas. How is the company financing itself? So we just saw the long-term debt position. So we're gonna look to see what that looks like. Debt and financing, we may discuss that as well. So in terms of their free cash flow, we're seeing that it stands at 69.53 million for 2022, and it would have been for 2020 74.46, 2019 59.57. So there is some improvement there from 2019 to the most recent year. This is a look at their return on assets and return on equity. So we're seeing return on assets stands at 7.65% for the most recent financial year, and return on equity at 15.62%. And again, we would have understood that for 2021, that was a general, not so good year for them. So the numbers would have seen, recovery from 2021 to 2022. Okay. But looking at pre-pandemic levels, these percentages were in the teens, so 7.65 here, whereas it was 14.6 for 2019. And for return on equity, where it was 26% before the pandemic, it was most recently 15.162. So it'd be interesting to see how it looks at the end of this current financial year that they're in, and see how things would have improved. This is gross profit margin in comparison to total revenues. So I thought it would be a good idea to look at this to see how things would have been developing. Again, we know the story and the realities that are there. So for 2019, they were at 73.13%. In 2022, they're at 74%. So right around the same in terms of gross margin percentage, if you exclude 2020 and 2021. So I mean, it's safe to say that they would have recovered their gross profit margin nicely as opposed to the last couple of years. And here we have current ratio and quick ratio, and this tells us, you know, how they're able to take care of their short-term liabilities if needed. And so we see it's at its lowest point in the last 5 to 6 years. So we'll have to see how this recovers again moving forward. All right, so let's take a look at the price history. So we're going to look at a summary screen, and then we're going to go on to JMMB Moneyline's platform to see what the trading was like for today. Now, this data was taken as at the last trading day, not the one that we're on today. So the price in the last 52 weeks ranged from, oh wow, I might not have updated this 52-week range price. It looks incorrect. Pardon me for that. Let me see if I can get that data here. Okay, yeah. So I'm looking at that data. It is for the last 52 weeks, it would have been $6 to $13.45. This was from the previous company. I think this was Access Financial. I didn't update it. Apologies for that. All the other data is correct. All right, so I can bring that back up for now. Let's do entire screen. That works. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so this data here, this is incorrect. Everything else is correct, right? So week to date, at the end of last week would have been minus 10%, month to date, negative 13%, year to date though is up 18%, right? So it has seen some growth for the year, but week to date, month to date, quarter to date, it was down a bit, right? 500 million shares outstanding. We said that on the previous slide. 93% of those shares are in the top 10, and the market cap stands at 5.25 billion. We've seen, if you just take a look at this chart from January to April, you see how the trading has been. So it's been somewhat pretty much up and down to say the least. So between $8 and $12, it's been trading within that range for the last 4 to 5 months. And we saw where the volume as at Friday was just under 24,000. So we're gonna look to see what the trading was for today. So let me bring up that on the Moneyline platform. Okay, maximize that. All right, so to access the price history, you log into JMMB Moneyline, you go to other services, stock market summary. I'm gonna look for Knutsford Express. All right, so would have looked at this data already, would have looked at, I think year to date. So this is the same chart that we would have seen. And this is the queue as it stands right now. So not all to buy orders that we're seeing, only 9. And the total volume, we see an order here for 472,000 units at $10. And then we see an order here on the sell side. We have about 20 orders 1.2, 1.5, maybe just under 2 million units available for sale. And we see where the volume today was just 2,400 units. So it's safe to say it's not heavily traded. And this is the price that we saw it trading at today. So it would have actually traded up about 8.5% today, but two transactions took place today. All right. All right, so that's it for now. Let's go back to what we have here. Okay, so let's look at their dividends. So for 2020 and 2021, they would have advised that the board of directors did not recommend that a dividend be declared based on the results of the 2021 financial year. And we saw those numbers in terms of performance, so it makes sense not to pay a dividend for that period. And 2020, when we would have just recently had the pandemic, September would have been just about 6 months in. They advised that it was decided that there would be no recommendation to pay a dividend. And again, that makes sense, right? So their last dividend paying year was 2019, where they paid an 8-cent dividend, right? So that's their most recent dividend paid. And so it's safe to say that they may look to, I guess, consider that this year, since their numbers are reflecting close to that what they had in 2019. But just bear that in mind, that that's why if you are a shareholder, you would have not seen a dividend paid during that time. Okay. All right. So in terms of news for the company, this is what I was able to find in terms of a quick search. So they would have had 1.3 billion in revenues for the 9 months. We're going to look at that report shortly, and they would have seen an increase in Q2 revenues. That's earlier in the year. That would be January, and and the last article is saying that there seems to be some sort of recovery or rebound for the company itself, right? So that's one of the things we're going to look at a little further here. Let me just share my screen. And let's just use that here. Okay. Let me just use this. I want to look at their Q3 report. All right. So this is a report for the 9 months ended February 28th. I had said March 31st previously. Apologies for that. So February 28th. So it says here that the board of directors is pleased to present the company's unaudited financials. So travel to Jamaica has rebounded since the pandemic, with greater arrival of visitors, both tourists and Jamaicans living abroad. Our visitors find a convenient, reliable, and safe mode of transportation in Knutsford Express services to travel across and around the island, right? The growth trends have contributed to our revenue growth in the period under review. So revenues would have increased by 55% over the previous quarter last year. So we know the year that 2021 was, so we're not surprised to see this type of recovery. And at the end of February, they would have exceeded $1 billion in revenue. The last time they would have done that would have been 2019, up 774 million for the same period last year. And demand remains strong in all areas of their core activities through their courier service and private charters through their subsidiary KEX. So we looked at that Knutsford Express Connect, that premium service. So they take pride in the importance that their services provide in improving their customers' lives. Their daily schedule and wide opening hours help customers to travel as frequently as they desire, and also to send packages to as many people in 19 different locations, right? So their customers have responded, and they're delighted to report 68 million in net profit, 84% increase over the 37 million in the previous third quarter last year, right? So everything up across the board. Their real estate investment in Knutsford Express Draxall Business Center has contributed to the growth of their total assets, which grew by 23.7%. Earnings per share would have improved to 13 cents, up from 8 cents, right? So this is their balance sheet. So property, plant, and equipment stands at 519 million. Investment property, 492 million. That would have been up from 110 million here. We see investments of 19 million. In terms of inventory, 25 million. Other assets, that's 82 million, up from 20 million. Short-term investments being 274 million. And then the cash and bank balances, we looked at that before. So their total assets stand at 1.63 billion. That would have been 300 million more than the same period last year. Their retained earnings grew to 910 million. And we spoke about their loan, their debt position here. Notes payable, 317 million, up from 23. Bond payable being 35 million. I'm wondering if that's doesn't look like an error. It's 335 million previous period. And then we have deferred tax liability. So accounts payable and accrued charges would have grown here to 136 million, up from 91. So maybe they would have worked out terms to maybe not pay out cash as frequently based on their current situation. It would make sense to look at maybe their position in 2019 to see maybe based on the amount of revenues if that level of accounts payable is consistent based on what we're seeing here. Then we have revenues here so we're going to look at the 9 months. I'm not going to focus on the quarter, but if you just have a quick glance here, the quarter for the 3 months would have definitely done 150% or 50% more. Yeah, 50% more than the same period last year. Admin expenses would have grown. Well, as I said, let's focus on the 9 months. I think that would be better. So expenses here would be 1 billion. So their operating profits was 277 million, still, 4 times what it would have been for the 9 months ending February 28, 2022. Profit before taxation, 235 million, up from 52. That's a significant growth there. That looks like 400%. Net profit from continuing operations being 211 million, up from 52. And so definitely that's why I would have been seeing the growth that we're seeing here, right? So for the 9 months, the EPS is 42 cents, up from 9 cents. So drastic difference in terms of performance for the same period last year. And then let's have a look at the cash flow statement here. I think we can focus on cash flows from investing activities. So transfer from property, plant, and equipment, we see that 311 million. We see placement or encashment of investments, 201 million. Acquisition of property, plant, and equipment is 49 million. So net cash used in investing activities, 276 million. And then proceeds from notes payable, 300 million. Bonds repaid, 300 million. So the net cash used in financing activities was 30 million. And so their net cash position up 16 million from same period last year, right? So we're seeing pretty much the recovery coming in for them. Let me see if there's anything here that I'd like to mention. Just going through here. So this is mentioning their this shows a line item here for their discontinued operations in the US. So we're seeing that net profit is negative 6.8 million for that. I guess at some point that will no longer be impacting their reporting. That would be something to look into. Earnings per share here, those details here at the top 10, which is what I shared before. All right, so that's, yeah, so that's pretty much the review. Now, based on what we have gone through, it looks as if they are, all but recovered from the last 2 years. So all signs are pointing to them continuing on that growth path that they were on before. So it'd be interesting to see how this year ends for them. It will likely be, let me try to bring up, there's this part that I like to look on for the JSC's website that shows their earnings, right? So you're able to look at maybe what Q4 has been in terms of earnings. And if we look at where it was in 2019, they actually did the same thing for 2022. But let's say they do the same amount here. They're likely gonna be, having just a great year based on how the other quarters would have performed. So in 2019, in terms of earnings, they had 36 million here, 33 million here. They did 58 and 68. So they are going to have a better year than they did in 2019. I think that's safe to say. And what we've been hearing reports of just things going really well in terms of, number of tourists coming to the country, the number of events, parties, etc. So persons needing to travel, needing to use their services will continue to increase. I would have loved to seen a breakout of maybe Knutsford Express or Knutsford Connect. Let me glance again to see if maybe that was reported separately to see how that business line is operating separately or how it has been contributing since it's new. So that information we don't have. So yeah, I think they're shaping up to have a good year. I think we should see, just based on what we're seeing in terms of trading, maybe not getting as much activity now, but that may change depending on maybe when the total year comes out, or maybe it comes on other person's radar. We may see trading activity improve. I didn't get a chance to look at any brokers, maybe equity analysis or anything like that. But it's something that I'd look into if I was interested in a company. I was able to meet the CEO over the weekend, so hopefully we'll be able to get an interview with him soon and just have a conversation with him just to understand maybe the things about the company that the numbers can't show us. So it is a company that seems to have fully recovered from where it was pre-pandemic. And so to see them, continue to grow is what one would expect. And one thing I would say is that this company could definitely benefit from more visibility. It's not one of those companies that are talked about. It's not a lot of shares available in terms of what's being traded. That's also something to note, because if there's not a lot of shares available, then that could impact how the company is traded. So some interesting things there. I'd love to meet with the CEO and hear from him as well, and see if we can kind of put together a complete picture of this company. So let me know what you thought of this review. Let me just bring back here that this review was sponsored by JMMB Moneyline. Thank them again for sponsoring this episode. And if you want to learn more about JMMB Moneyline, just feel free to check out the link in the description of this video. All right, so yeah, let me know your thoughts about the company in the comments below. Let me know which companies you'd like me to review, and for any other questions, feel free to reach out to us at any time. Our DMs are open. We do have updated links of maybe classes, services, resources, etc. that you can check out in the description of this video. And I want to thank you for watching this video. I'll see you in the very next one.
Learning is the key to successful investing. And who doesn't want to invest in some way?
Here at L.E.A.R.N. Grow Invest, we focus on financial education, all with the aim of sharing our knowledge on personal finance, investing, and building wealth. We do this on the foundation of our faith in God.
If a more holistic approach is what you need, check out our Grow Faith-based financial coaching program.
Find out more about us at learngrowinvestclub.com
And follow us on all social media platforms at L.E.A.R.N. Grow Invest.